it's that thing that nobody knows what it does. Why is the lighting like that? Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff that would have broken. Now that should fix it. Though that did look kind of neat. Is that the same room? No. Is that the same room? No. I actually want to get back into that room.
What were some of the biggest hurdles you had to come across transitioning into Unity?
From Flash specifically? The big one is that, well, I want to say the massiveness of the game, but honestly, that's not a hurdle. That was Unity handled it. Flash couldn't handle a game that was this big, and Unity is doing it well. But then again, Flash was never meant for game design. It was not built for that. We just sort of jammed our interest into it. And at the risk of turning this question into what do you hate about Flash, instead let's say that the biggest hurdle, honestly, everything has been good since we left Flash. It's been fantastic. Flash has its uses, and this was not one of them, but we tried to jam the square peg of game design into the round hole of Flash's non-mainline, non-intended purpose of game design. So, yeah, I suppose maybe the biggest hurdle then might have actually, that might be the answer to the question, is that because Unity gave us this scope of, with Flash you can only get so big, but Unity, you truly can make this game as big as you want. And so we did. And so it's 6 years later and we're still working on it. So I suppose if you look at it that way, the aptitude that Unity has for making exactly the kind of game you want, which we have, I'm very happy with what we have, has led us towards and down a path that that has taken a very long time, much more than we thought. No regrets, of course. It's a much better game than we promised we were going to make, too. But that's absolutely the hurdle, no question about it.
February 19th, 2020 marks the 20th anniversary of the Madness Combat series, and as a long-time fan of 15 years, I wanted to celebrate by documenting the history, creation, and lasting impact the series has had on fans and creators around the world. In early 2017, I began researching and interviewing in preparation for this documentary, and after discussing the idea with two friends, Charlie and Anthony, we decided to fly out to Philadelphia to talk to Crinkles, Swain and Folk in person to find out more about this beloved series, as well as the development of Madness Project Nexus. So to tell this story right, we have to go back to the very beginning. (1998). As a 17-year-old Matt Jolly attends high school in central Colorado, technology is booming. America Online buys Netscape for $4.2 billion.
We ready to go? We think the combination with AOL is just a killer deal.
Microsoft launches Windows 98.
33 seconds and counting. All associates stand by. 98 is about to launch.
Steve Jobs unveils the iMac.
Is iMac?
And one website was catching the attention of America's youth. Newgrounds.
I was hanging out with some friends, and a good friend of mine from high school, I'm from Miami, had come up to Orlando where I went to college, and told me about this website that he thought I in particular would enjoy, and of course he was right. And this was Newgrounds back in 2000, so this was all Tom's early Assassin games, Teletubby joke things, you know. Like the funny stuff that was the progenitor to the Flash portal before people started to contribute.
So starting in 1999, people could email their files to have them showcased on Newgrounds, which kind of created that original community of Flash animators and game developers. Then in 2000, we automated it, and that was the first time anyone could just do real-time publishing of games and animation, which just really, you know, built that foundation for the site. And the site's always kind of stayed true to those values of being, you know, a community for people to share their work. It sort of just still has that purpose. It's like very purpose-driven in that, which has just kind of kept it consistent, and we keep improving it. We're always working to improve it, so.
I spent maybe a couple days on the site, exhausted all the content, played everything, and thought, okay, that was a lot of fun, and then moved on to whatever the next website was. Newgrounds wasn't big yet. It was on the precipice of getting there, but there's no way that we could have known that at the time, at least not me.
Meanwhile, in Matthew's school books, something was beginning to take shape. All he needed was the tool to do so. The first Madness-themed animation was released February 19th, 2002, titled Marshmallow Madness. In the summer of 2001, after borrowing a copy of Macromedia Flash 5 from his school library, Matt would go on to make a short trilogy of cartoons on Newgrounds, Breadman. But it wasn't until Marshmallow Madness hit the scene that he would find his true creative outreach.
If I'm remembering correctly, oh god, I think about this sometimes, and it just makes me wish I had the piece of paper still. But like, we used to go to Old Chicago all the time. This is a pizza place, you know, bar is really, I mean, it's fine. But they had you know, the crayons and the kids menus, and I was a fucking weird little 19-year-old. I was like, give me that, I want to draw all over it. And so, like, you know, I flip it over and just draw whatever I want. And that's ultimately where the Marshmallow Madness plot came from, because like I'd been drawing these little like madnessy looking guys before in my sketchbooks from time to time, and it was still in my head when I flipped over this thing and just started drawing. And like one of the sketches on there with the crayon was like, you know, the cannon and this guy getting shot in a marshmallow. I was like, oh, that's great. But like when I sat down to Flash, I thought like, hey, this is the project I've been looking for, because like I'd made Breadman. And like I'd made a whole bunch of stuff before Breadman that was just like nonsense, just me like fucking spinning my tires in the mud, because I was learning how to the very basics of Flash, and I'm not a very quick learner. So like there's a lot of frigging mud kicked up in the air as I was trying to figure that out. And something about the whole like, hey, let's put the people in the marshmallow, that was like, you know, pretty engaging to me. So I thought, maybe I could do that in Flash. It's all like 2D. It's set up pretty flatly, and it's, you know, these little guys, there's not much to them. They don't even have arms, you know, like, so it wasn't, I remember the time between the end of or when I released Marshmallow Madness and the time I started plotting Madness Combat was like very brief, because I was still in college and I was drawing all over my fucking notes with these little guys fighting each other, and I was like, oh yeah, they gotta fight, you know, it'd be easy to do. And like, yeah, I started like choreographing things, which all got ignored, but like it was me just like drawing things that I knew that could happen in cartoons. And that's when, over the course of like 4 months, and I remember this kind of like horrifies me to think about sometimes, because like it was in an era when we were big on LAN parties. So like I would be working on this cartoon, and then we'd be like, hey, LAN party over at Scott's or Sean's or whatever. And I was like, haul up the computer through the snow, slip and slide all over the place. And like I did not drop the computer, because like I feel like if I had broken it and destroyed that cartoon project, I would have like wound up doing something else, and then who knows where we'd be. But like it's just funny to think back on that you know, I didn't happen to slip that time, you know. So
I wasn't sure what to make about Matt the first time I met him. Of course, he was polite, friendly, and courteous, but he has a way of talking down upon his own abilities and his prior work, such to the extent where I almost got the feeling that he was trapped by his own creation, creatively, in terms of branching out into something new. But who else would know him better than one of his childhood friends?
Oh boy. Yeah, me and Matt, we went to elementary school together. So we weren't really, best friends or anything. I knew who he was, but we were only like 9 or 10. And then we ended up going to the same middle school and the same high school. And it wasn't until probably the beginning of high school that we started hanging out. And I don't know, it was him and just a group of friends that we're all still friends today. And they're like the best friends I've ever had. And Matt ended up moving in with me and just working in the basement, in our basement, on little animations, little shorts. And then eventually asked me to make some music for him, and I did. I was still living at home, and we were probably 16 or 17, I think. Somewhere around there. We made a lot of videos, tons of videos. We would write scripts, and we would videotape ourselves, and all we wanted to do was make movies. That was all any of us wanted to do. Like, we all wanted to star in the movies. We all wanted to edit the movies, direct the movies, write the movies, make the music for them. That's all we wanted to do at all. So we always had a camera nearby, and we were always screwing around. And then I think that's how Matt kind of found animating, because he's always been an incredible artist. And then he turned his skills to animating, and he's incredible at that too. But I think this is his version of making movies. You know what I mean?
Madness Combat was released July 25th, 2002, just 5 months and 6 days after Marshmallow. After receiving positive reviews from the Newgrounds community, Matt not only had the encouragement he needed, but he had found an avenue to further express his creativity.
And I remember after I got that out, Tom put that cartoon in the the funny cartoon section, which, because the portal wasn't very fast back then, he could categorize things. And I took that as like a badge of honor. I was like, oh shit, like Tom handpicked this. And I think he did the same to the Death of Breadman too, but like, this is just more encouragement.
Madness Combat not only set the stage for what would come for 2 decades later, but did it with a level of polish not seen by many animators in the early days of Flash. As dated as it may appear today, many of the standards of the Madness genre were laid out from the very beginning. One protagonist versus a world of antagonists. Weapons, explosives, high body counts, Jesus, zombies, as well as a comedic edge. MC1 may be one of the weaker entries in the series, but it's hard to discredit its significance, and most importantly, its relevancy.